What's up, CHFFL? Welcome to week 2 of the 2021 season. I'm coming to you from my new apartment in Alpharetta, Georgia. Please forgive me as I transition what my new setup is going to be. I've moved twice already trying to record this video because of acoustics, and then I was out on my porch and it started to rain and you could hear the rain on the microphone. So maybe moving around for the next couple of weeks, but let's get into week 2. We're going to recap week 1, which has mostly been covered already by the excellent Two Guys, One Podcast show done by Stan and Parker. If you have not checked that out, recommend you go do so. But we'll start with my week 1 wrap. My predictions were 5-1. I missed the Marty Max game because Urban Meyer ruins everything, including James Robinson. Swan was the team of the week. Put up a great performance and expect to see more teams of the week as the season continues from Swan. I think his team is the best in the league right now by a noticeable gap. I don't think Parker is quite as close as he thinks he is. The game of the week was Wes over Mark. It turned out to be not as close as I thought. Wes actually challenged Swan for that team of the week, and I think Wes is going to continue to kind of surprise people as the season goes, even though he lost Mostert for this whole season, I think. Waiver wire, the big one was Stan spending $55 on Elijah Mitchell. Thought he was the guy, and if you think somebody is the guy to go get, you spend over half your budget, and we'll see how that works for him in the coming weeks. Again, Two Guys, One Podcast cover this in a little more depth. Wes spent $7 on Tim Patrick. He's kind of got a bunch of potentially good wide receivers. He's hoping one of them can break out and get into his starting lineup. Marty spent $7 on Gronk, and of course, Parker already made the observation that that is a much better price than a second-round pick like Marty got Gronk for last year. Going right into the matchups, we don't have any interleague play this week, so we'll start with the Faculty Lounge. Derek and my Clip Game champions versus Stan's Miss Neeson's Cookies. Stan got -2 from the Giants' defense, and it seems like defenses have been really hard to pick. Always they're harder at the beginning of the season when you don't know what teams are going to look like. But this year they've been particularly frustrating. Big question for Stan, is Mitchell worth the price? We'll get our first kind of look this week. Of course, the 49ers running back situation can always waver and meander as the season progresses. Derek and we've have a noted positional imbalance with two what I still consider to be top 5 tight ends and a little bit of a lack of depth at receiver, but I think we can pull this one out narrowly. Going off of Stan getting that -2 from the Giants D, we picked up Cole Beasley to stack with Josh Allen, and he's a pretty based person, so I'm hoping he can pull through with a good performance for us. Next, moving to Genie's Bunch of Good Boys versus Chuck Taylor's Shamalamas. Wes has promoted Kenneth Gainwell to the starting lineup after Mostert's injury. It's interesting. Gainwell, I have him in the Dynasty League. Big fan long term, but he is behind Miles Sanders right now. Parker only got 2 points from Washington defense. That trend continues of defenses being frustrating, but otherwise his team does look very good, as he kind of noted in the podcast this week. I'm picking him to win here. A large thing is Patrick Mahomes has a tough matchup with the Ravens. Not that he won't have a good game, but maybe not as dominating of a performance, and that's one of the bigger positional gaps between Wes and Parker, where Wes may be able to capitalize later in the season when they play again. Next, Wickers Knickers versus Poppin' to the Moon, Max versus Mark. Urban Meyer not using James Robinson like I thought I would, and not to harp too much every time I'm wrong, I just like to point out that Urban Meyer is awful and ruins everything, and I think everyone can agree on that, except maybe Betts. But Mark got just 10 from Saquon. The Giants continue to not use him the way that they have in the past. Daniel Jones doesn't check down to running backs to get him, and they don't design plays to put him in space as a receiver for whatever reason. But I think Nick Chubb could have a huge game against Houston, because I don't think Houston's actually good. I just think Urban Meyer is terrible. I'm taking Max here, and this is one of my predictions that really I don't have anything backing it up. My gut just still tells me that Max's team is underrated, kind of looking at it top to bottom. I like it, and I think as weeks go and we get a larger sample size, we're going to see that Max's team is better than it's getting credit for. Moving over to the Chappelle Show conference, we got Silky Johnson versus Tyrone Bigum's Crack Stars. So Urbanus, Scary Terry, and Logan Thomas combined for 37 on Thursday. That's great because he still has all the big guns coming. He and Jason. I'm not letting week one make me think that they're not loaded. For mini, I do think Kyler Murray and Najee Harris are going to put a lot of points up this week as a combo and make this kind of a closer game than you would think. But I'm taking Bannis. It's the safe pick. And with a good Thursday performance, the gap's just too big for him to go 0-2. Going now to Clayton Bigsy's Tricksters versus Wayne Brady, Lady Chokers. Marty got 10 points from Antonio Gibson Thursday. He continues to kind of disappoint, and I keep wanting Gibson to turn it around, even though I don't have him in any of my leagues this year. I do think DK Metcalf due for a big day. As everyone kind of notes by now, Tyler Lockett tends to get the huge performances and then kind of disappear into Metcalf's shadow for a little while before the next one comes out. Maybe that trend will buck this year, and certainly Wilson can support both of them in one game, but I think Metcalf is going to produce at a high level this season. JD got 6 points from Kenny Golladay in his flex spot. Stop starting Thursday players in your flex spots. I'm taking Marty. I'm mad about that flex thing. And I think Marty's going to win. My game of the week is Ashy Larry Snake Eyes versus Rick James Couch. Grant against Swan. I mean, Swan got the 24 points from the kicker. Everybody's been talking about that. So it begs the question, what is Grant and Rick James Couch going to do about that leg? He needs a big game. He needs a big game from Aaron Jones, Stephon Diggs, from Monty or Lockett. I already said I don't think Lockett's going to hit 2 weeks in a row, but any of those other guys can go off. And we're going to see if Grant is legit. Two Guys One Podcast have him up towards the top of the league after one good week. I need to see a little bit more, but I think this is a good time for him to show it. Is Swan going to get back-to-back Team of the Weeks with a huge score from the kicker? Probably. I'm taking Swan. He's the safe pick, but it doesn't detract from the intrigue of the game for me. I think if Grant can score a lot of points and keep it close, suddenly he is in that playoff contention, championship contention. I mean, it's way too early for that, but definitely playoff contention talk. So that's week 2. Best of luck to everybody. We'll see you for week 3. Hopefully I'm in a little bit more of a permanent situation in my new apartment. And hope everyone's had fun at the weddings who's been able to attend them. Sorry I have not been able to make it up with all this transitioning. But I hope everyone has fun with fantasy football. And I'll see you next time.